Hello there, Year 5. Today we are going to have our next special topic, and this one is about water, different bodies of water. You have to know that there are two different types of water on Earth, salt water and fresh water. In Hungary, we have no oceans and seas, so we have fresh water, which has much smaller salt content. So freshwater lakes and rivers can be analyzed here thoroughly now today, and we're going to follow one of our presentations here. So let's see. The title is Bodies of Water, and instantly if you check your book at page 129, you can see that there's a mistake there, because here you can see a river, that thicker line with light blue in the middle. What is a river? A river is a large stream of water that flows along a river bed, and the two sides of the river bed are called the banks. But if you go downstream, so you should imagine yourself that you are on a ship in the middle of the river, you look right as you face towards the downstream, so towards the mouth of the river. Then you can find on the right bank of the river, and on the left bank of the river. So they made a mistake here. Please correct this problem in your book on page 129 at the top. The main river has more water in its riverbed, and the tributary river, a smaller river, just flows into it, and the two rivers can meet. That's what you can see there. And because in the mountain ranges, usually you can find the source of rivers there at higher elevation, then from the source towards the sea, the river just flows downwards. Basically the landforms are getting smaller and smaller, and there are less and less slopes, and finally there's a lowland, and then the river can flow into an ocean or a sea. There are two main forms of mouths. One of them is the delta on the left, the other one is the estuary on the right. Delta torkolat, tölcsér torkolat. We learned these earlier. The next image is a bit more exciting. You can see that thicker line in the middle. That's basically a mountain range. But can you find rivers on the very top of a mountain? No, because rivers just flow downwards on one side, on the other side of the mountain range. So finally, the mountain is like a big wall between river systems. We call this big wall the watershed, vízválasztó. And on the other two sides, all the rivers can flow into a bigger main river. We call this area where the river collects all its waters the drainage basin or catchment area, vízgyűjtő terület. Here you can see again the main river and the tributary just flowing into it from the left. And of course, in riverbeds there can be more or less water depending on precipitation and the climate of a region. At the beginning of summer or late spring in Hungary, there can be quite a lot of water in rivers. In the river Danube, it can be up to 8,000 cubic meters at Rákóczi Bridge. If you cut the river in half and you can see the cross-section of it, then in 1 second, couple of thousand cubic meters of water can flow through the river. 1 cubic meter is 1,000 liters. Don't forget that, please. So it's quite a lot of water. But on average, this amount is much less, of course. It can be just around 2,000 cubic meters in case of Danube at the given point, which I told you earlier. But if it's a really dry winter, let's say, then the water amount becomes less and less in the riverbed, can reach only like a couple of 100 cubic meters per second. Here we have our special keywords. Please check them on page 131 in your textbook. Bank, brook, canal, delta, downstream, drainage basin, estuary, freshwater, hydroplant, irrigate, main river. Mature river, mouth of a river, old river, overflow, reservoir, riverbed, source, stream, tributary, and watershed. If we check this picture, you can see here that there's an island being formed here. First, there are just reefs underwater. Can be really dangerous when you go down on the river by ships. And then the reef gets bigger and bigger as more and more sediments, so small particles of stones, are building up, accumulating. And finally, the island is there. But where are the little sediments, the little pieces, particles, stone particles in the river from? Of course, they are from the mountains, because in the mountain ranges, rivers get a higher speed. They can cut themselves into the stone this way. They can really have destroying work. And then this destroying work brings down a lot of small particles. And nice V-shaped valleys are formed. V-shaped valleys are formed by rivers, not the other way around. So it's not like that the valley was there first. No, the river is there and it deepens itself. The small stones and particles are brought down towards lower elevations like lowlands. And finally, when the river speed decreases, gets slower and slower, then actually lots of sediments are arriving there, and on lowlands they can build up. So the river needs to go around these sediment mini hills, and basically the river starts getting meanders. A meander is a river bend, kanyar. So you can find that here. In Hungary, the river Tisza is typically like that, and it even had more meanders before the 19th century big river flood control systems. And when the river reaches the ocean or the sea, all the sediments are just accumulating there, forming big UVO fans, hordalékkúp. That's what you can see there. But how can you protect houses next to the river? Villages, towns? You need to build levees or dike systems, but you need to leave some extra space for the water. When the flood comes, it can cover those areas, the floodplains. So please do not build your houses there. You can build your houses behind the protected area, behind the levees. This is what happened when we think of the flood control of the river Tisza. If you want to try all this out, you can build your own little sand hill in a sandbox, and if you flow or pour some water from a watering can, then you can have your own V-shaped valley, and at the base, the foot of your tiny hill, you can have the UVO fan, hordalékkúp of the river. So you can try all this out. This happened actually a couple of years ago, right next to the river, on the river bank, basically. The water flooded the whole area. So where I usually go by car, there was water. Lots of people went and visited the place because it was hard to believe that it looked like this. Luckily, we could escape this terrible situation and nothing was really destroyed in our capital. Some more keywords here: UVO fan, destroy, dike, flood, flood control, floodplain, levees, meander, method, overflow, reef, sandbag, sediment, V-shaped, and valley. And Count Széchenyi and Vásárhelyi Pál were the two Hungarian men who decided about flood control in Hungary, concerning especially the river Tisza, which is a bit longer in Hungary than the Danube, but the Danube has more water in its riverbed. They decided to cut through the huge meanders of the river and make straight beds on some sections. Along the riverbank, they built the levees or dikes, so this way they could protect the area behind them. So this was the whole thing about bodies of water in a nutshell. And you can just have a look at your workbook. On page 111, So please check this page, whole page. It's mostly just symbolizing things there on the maps. The other one is on page 112. So please concentrate on this one as well. Yeah, the task up here. This is task, let's see, 6. Yeah. And the other one, which would be really important, is on page 113. 113, the whole page. It's mostly, again, drawing tasks. So thank you for concentrating a lot on the different bodies of water, and see you next time. Keep up good work. Bye bye.